So tell me where to go. I'll be there before you even know. You treat me right, I won't leave you alone. You can take all my cologne. So tell me where to go. I'll be there before you even know. You treat me right, I won't leave you alone. You can take all my cologne. We can move like this. We can move like this.
I'm just gonna sit there like, you got it. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone hear me? You can put it all the way down. Cool, cool. Welcome, 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 folks, people, developers, San Diegans. Welcome. I want to say thanks for coming. I'm Sam, by the way, if you haven't met me, one of the organizers here and co-founders of DEVx. So yeah, welcome to our show. Quick little bit about what DEVx is about. I always like to start, for those that are new, to talk about what we're doing here. It's pretty simple. We're developers by San Diego, hence the name, DEVxSD. So very simple stuff. We are really big in community. We believe in community. We believe that community is what brings opportunity for us developers, industry, engineers, whatever, what have you. And we were a part of plenty of communities throughout our years here in San Diego, and we felt like what we needed is a community focused on us developers, not on the technology. That comes and goes, but we stay. So, and I appreciate you coming here and staying with us. So we do that on three things in three ways. We like to connect all of us together, like we're doing right now, by creating a space for us to connect to, and tools such as our Discord. Check us out online on our Discord. We like to give you the opportunity to inspire each other through a platform like this. So that means if you want to give a talk, we're open to that. Feel free to let us know. And then we like to build together, right? Sometimes we build some really cool stuff. We want to share it. And we want to give everyone the opportunity to join in and build those things through collaboration. So that's what we're all about. This is what we do. So we got the weekend function, third Saturday of every month, monthly. That's where you're at right now. Thank you again for coming to that. We also have on Fridays co-routines throughout the month. These are fun get-togethers at coffee shops, different locations, where they're casual, just hang out meetups. Bring your laptop, work, maybe do your day, co-work together, right? And then also on Thursdays, we have our paper club, which is a newer edition where we focus on a talk like this, but really structured around a white paper, and specifically an AI white paper. So we got the two Keiths, as we call them, running that show. Great place to go if you want to learn on some the cutting edge ideas and go really deep on those in the AI space. So check that out. That's another good one. Yeah, so this is what we got for you right now. This is who we are. We got AJ. Raise your hand, AJ, in the back. We got Angel DJing right here. Ezekiel's not here today, but he will be. You won't miss him. He's usually got pink hair, some funky colors in there. Very colorful dude. Gilbert, where you at? In the back. Cool, cool. Jonathan Lewis, today he was sick, unfortunately. Myself and Tristan, right here. Big round of applause to all of you for making this happen over the years. Without you, DEVx wouldn't be here, so thank you again. And we always like to extend the invitation. If you're big in community like us, you like meeting people, you like hosting events, come talk to us. We can probably use some helping hand. We're always open to new volunteers. So another person to thank is Edge. Edge, the company, this is where you're at, Edge HQ. Edge is a wallet and exchange platform, a crypto app at the end of the day. doing really awesome things. Crypto's got a bad rap throughout the years. Nobody understands it. There's so many different things, scams, blah, blah, blah. But Edge is an OG. They've been around since 2014, and they've been building some really cool solutions in this space. They focus on privacy, security, autonomy, sovereignty, those really like core fundamental values that like made cryptocurrency a thing. You could check them out at edge.app. As well, they're fully open source. So there's no gotchas there. You can even like build stuff for them. That's really awesome. Like submit a PR, they might accept it. Add your own cryptocurrency that you're interested in. Check that out at github.com/edgeapp. Yeah, I was working for Edge for like 5 years. Quick disclaimer. I'm moving on to some other interesting things, but they always have a place in my heart. So, round of applause for Edge. I always like to thank them because they gave us this space and really made DevX possible. So, again, Edge sponsor, check them out. All right, if you guys need Wi-Fi, Edge guest, I think this is still the password. I'm not sure. I have to follow up, but I like big bits. Should have changed that while I was working there, maybe. But that is the password still nonetheless. Exit out the front door for the restrooms and to the left, if you guys have been kind of wondering where that is. Should be unlocked, but if not, there is a door code 1595. If you forget, feel free to ask any one of our volunteers. Okay, our agenda. Today we have 2 speakers. We're running a little late. We had some audio difficulties for whatever reason. We always run into some weird technical difficulties with streaming. But nonetheless, this would be our schedule, running short. We'll start with speaker presentations, and then after that, we'll give a chance for you all to come up stage and say hi and why you're here and that sort of thing, if you want to. And then after that, we'll hang out a little bit more like we've been doing, networking, maybe building, doing some cool stuff. And then we'll close the doors around 4. So pretty simple. Our speakers today, we have 2, actually 3 technically, because the first round of speakers will be Cami and Sonia. They'll be talking about some very interesting thing they've built around AI. It's called Freedom with AI. So that will be our first speakers for the day. And then after that, we have Tristan, our own. Tristan Perry will be talking about Claude Code for designers. Another interesting topic of using Claude Code for design. So without further ado, because you probably heard enough from me, let's please welcome Cami and Sonia up to the stage to do their presentation.
Is this working? Is this working? Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
And thanks to DevX for making this happen. This is our second time at DevX, and our first time we absolutely loved it, and so we really wanted to speak to you guys about what we're doing. So we have a company, and it's called Freedom with AI. But before I go into what the company does, and Sonia's going to really cover most of it, I'm just going to kind of kick us off into kind of freedom is such a big topic, and we are here in America where we probably hear about freedom more than anywhere else in the world, and maybe we've even explored it in our own selves more than anyone else in the world because it's such a big part of our value system here. But what does freedom mean to each of you individually? I think it's a unique perspective that's maybe elusive or it's changing. Is it real? Is it fiction? Does it really exist? So I look back on my life and I have seen, like, when I was leaving high school and going into college, like, freedom to me at that point was leaving home and going to college, and that was freedom. College was freedom. And then exiting college and getting my first job, like, freedom. And now I get to be with my friends in the workplace, and I'm an individual contributor, so I'm really being creative, and I get to really contribute to a bigger cause that's important to me because it's important to, you know, my surroundings and my peers and my bosses. But then as an individual contributor, I'm also seeing, well, I don't really have freedom. I don't have that much autonomy. Even my manager does, though. So let me be a manager. So I become a manager because that's where freedom lies, and I'll enter freedom there. And then I'm a manager, and I have some freedom for a little time. But I also have people that are telling me what to do up here, so I don't have a lot of freedom. And then I've lost freedom from my individual contributor times. I'm kind of in the middle here where I'm not creating, And am I even really contributing? So I'm stuck in middle management and I don't feel free anymore. But my executives, they seem free. They have autonomy. They have agency. So I'll become an executive and that's where I'll find freedom. But then I have a board to answer to and they really have the last decision. So I'm still not free. Maybe I'll become an entrepreneur. There, freedom will lie. So I'll become an entrepreneur. And that's what I'm going to do now. And that's what I'm doing. And the question is there full freedom in entrepreneurship? Is there ever full freedom? So everyone in this room is in a different state. Some of you are individual contributors. Some of you are in middle management. Some of you are at the executive level. Some of you are board members. Are you free? What is your vision of freedom for yourself? Is it elusive? Is it changing? Is it fiction? And I'm going to leave it to Sonia to discuss where we are in our own entrepreneurial journey and freedom.
Okay. I have this. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. All right, so thank you for that. I think that, for us, starting with like, what is freedom? And I think when we started, it was at that level where we were both executives and we had decided that, AI was there. And we loved AI so much in our personal life. Like I had done sort of old AI, I would say. My teams were building conversational intelligence at the sales engagement company that I was at, and we were doing the ML the old way, NLP and all that stuff. And then November 2022, ChatGPT came out, and we just started playing with it, and like, oh wow, now this is going to take off. And we really realized that it was going to grow really, really big. And I even tried to talk to my company about like, okay, we need to just change everything. We need to become AI native. And they kind of like listened to me. There was one engineer and half a CTO's brain there. Like they're like, oh yeah, we can sort of like think about it. But they were still stuck in the old ways. So I felt like the world really needed to move forward, and this technology was going to change everything, and people were just not ready for it. So we're like, okay, we need to really tell the world, how AI is. And we had this sort of like this corporate drudgery, like even though I was kind of like at a startup, less than 200 people, but that kind of like carries on. Once you have more than 50 people, once you have workflows, once you have processes, once you have meetings for meetings, you are in that corporate drudgery. So that's where we were like, okay, we are going to find freedom with AI, because AI is actually, we felt that it is going to change the way the world works, and we still believe that. We absolutely think that the realization of each human potential is going to be possible if we use this technology the right way, especially when AI, robotics, and everything else. So that's what the decision we made. We are going to, build something with AI. So we started with a few pieces. We're like, okay, we need to educate everybody how to use AI. So if you go to YouTube Freedom with AI channel, which we're going to revive now, you'll see very, very shitty old videos where I just don't know what I was doing. I was using Canva and other things, because for the first time in my life, I had that space. I wasn't on meetings from 8 to 6 p.m. like, either handling customer calls or sales calls or telling product team and engineering team what to build, while also trying to say like, yes, I understand what you're going through. I'll talk about my karma a little bit later on that. But we're like, okay, we're going to create content. It was very labor intensive. So you can imagine like 2023 was really like, end of 2023 wasn't still that great. And then we said like, okay, we will actually do some services. We will actually, work with individual people. But what are we, like, our whole experience was the corporate world. And we used AI in our personal lives, but people were not even open to that. So, and we didn't really want to sell. Like, it's very hard to sell. We're getting better at that, as we have learned a lot in the last couple of years. But then I remember like November 2024, I was doing some side project, like really the copy pasting, days of code from ChatGPT and others. And I remember Cami saying, when are we going to build our own product? I'm like, all right, let's just do it. So we just started because I had done something with the side project. And then the question was like, what product to build? And this is where, again, this whole thing is so that you guys can learn from our mistakes. we're like, okay, we're going to do inside out product. So whatever we are experiencing, somehow we are going to target our own selves, which is always a good idea. Like we are becoming entrepreneurs. We want to help entrepreneurs. So we're struggling with, ideation and pitch or whatever. And just because I had done the side project about the slides, the pitch, I'm like, okay, we can somehow integrate it. So I had taught for like literally 15 years, my product teams, engineering teams, my design teams, always talk to the customer first, do the discovery, talk to people, figure it out, like make sure that your idea actually has some legs. But somehow the arrogance, like when we are doing the thing, we're like, we don't need to talk to anybody. We can actually just build because we know what we're building and we like it, so everybody's gonna like it. No. So that was what we started with. So just to sort of like tie the thing back there, this is the universe of things like I oversaw. So I have a computer science degree, I'm a software engineer, like I have a master's in software engineering, and I was never good at coding. I would pick up new languages that my teams were doing during the day, like I would sort of like lead them, and at night I'm like, okay, I gotta learn Ruby. And I would spend a week, learn some things, and then I would just like get bored with it. I would just, because the thing is that you have to be passionate, you have to pick a product or something to build a project. That's how you learn the best. But I would just sort of like do it as a study course. So I never really got into it, and I would really never have the time either because my day job, So then I had to manage all these different systems. And so this is what I oversaw, but what I created was Google Slides all the time. Because I had to present OKRs, I had to present to the board, I had to present to whoever, like the sales call or customer, whatever. So I felt like I lived in Google Slides, and this is where, like, once we decided to build started to build the product, I was like, okay, I can actually use any of these languages, any of the tools, because now AI had, given me the wings. I mean, even though it was, you used to, I don't know if you remember that, like accepting each change in Cursor. Like, oh, I was very much like, I need to make sure that I understand each line and everything. And now Cloud Code, Grok, Codex, like they spit out like files upon files. I never look at it. But those were the old days where I was like, oh, finally I get to, get the coding going, but I had the tools. So the other thing, because of the universe that I'd seen, I decided to have the maximum control. So I wasn't going to take the easy path where you could just, get Vercel or, get started easily. AWS has things, Google has a lot of cloud services. The reason was because at my previous startup, like the one before, we were actually doing 10%, we were paying AWS 10% of our revenue because of the architecture, the way it had blown up. And then in my previous startup, the last one, we had 180 people and we had 250 SaaS subscriptions. And it was just like when meeting with our CFO, when meeting with our board, because we were looking to get acquired. And when we did the audit, it was like sometimes, somebody from marketing would just sign up for a tool, and that was kind of like we were paying $100 a month for that. Those kind of things I felt like, you really need to control your costs, especially if you're bootstrapped. We're blowing through our savings. So we had to be very mindful of that. So that's why I decided on cost first. Like it was like cost, keeping your cost low is always a good thing. So if you are doing a side project, if you are starting to become an entrepreneur, that would be one thing. Cost is in your control, try to always keep it low. But the other thing was I wanted to learn. I had led DevOps team before without knowing. I mean, the only thing that I would have, but like I would have to do in a way would be like AWS dashboard and paying the bills. I never was inside the systems to really figure out how to configure or whatever. So I wanted kind of like that pain, I guess, to really go through everything. So right now this is kind of like, VPS. I have my own VPS. I do the Docker. Then, of course, the Cloudflare, things like that. Stripe I use, and then AWS SES for emails and OS, the normal things. But then the biggest change was analytics, because I really wanted not to deal with all the analytics services that, I mean, Google Analytics is fine, but not by the, the products. I wanted to control how I look at LLM costs, LLM changes, like you can imagine like the tokens, latency, and all these different models, because I use all these different models as they come, and then throughout the workflow there are those different things. So this was kind of like me finally telling myself that I actually could be an engineer. So I think that for me it was learning over control and learning over speed. But if you are doing a side project, I obviously wouldn't recommend that unless you're very, very familiar with all these things. It's much easier to sort of spin up Firebase and others and just like get going and really get your first customers before you figure out how you're going to move to a bigger cloud or things. But the cost is something that you should think about. If your product does go viral, then your bill is also going to go pretty high with Firebase and AWS and other things like that. So this was our first V0, the one we almost kept. It was linear, beautiful, and completely wrong. And I am going to just play this for a second. It's okay if you don't listen to this music. I actually might play the whole thing. I just love it. So the reason I love this video is because I did it programmatically. It was done with Remotion, and because I couldn't really get the soundtrack, they're copyrighted, so I use fal.ai. You can actually do the songs there, but anyways. And this also gives you the idea of like what our whole thing is. We are Freedom with AI company, and our product name is Freedom with AI Buddy, which is FiBuddy.com. And again, it was, as you can see, like the first version was really geared towards early stage entrepreneurs, and still it is. We have narrowed down some things, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we felt good about it. We had created the launch video. So I did, in the beginning of March this year, I did a $50 Google ad test. And of course, I had alpha test users like, from our network, and people gave us comments. First was like, even I think one of our friends here, is it Fail Buddy? I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, Fail Buddy. Because B, is like that. And it's taken, we have tried it, and then the naming is really hard. So we're like, all right, we'll just go with it. So, and we didn't listen. I had so many people that I had empowered, I had them see success. My director of UX design, one of my product managers who became a director of product, and all of them gave me feedback. I was like, nah, didn't take it. Like on some of these things, everybody questions few things. Is this how it's going to be? But we were just married to it was just like blinders on, because when you fall in love with your product, and you just don't really listen to the feedback. So we did get good feedback, and some things that we changed a lot based on the feedback, but there were critical things that I feel like we could have listened more to. But then again, when we did the test, 0 signups, because as you can see, it's a linear journey. You start talking with the idea, then that gets locked, and then you move through the research and the validation, and then you think about like, oh, I'm going to pitch, and then I need to figure out like exactly how I'm going to build, and then I'm going to launch. And then we had actually funding piece as well. And there was no guest mode. So when you do an ad and you get people land on your page, it's just like people are so used to something quick. So they could see this. There was like the whole page about like what it would do, but the friction point was there. And I think this is where like not last, but the previous DevX, we had Jonathan who presented like, should you build it? And it was a great talk because his whole point was you should first figure out if people are going to be interested in that or not. So, and I think that's what I would highly, highly recommend, to first gauge the interest and really, even if it is a side project, like is the interest really landing? Based on your whole vision and what the customers tell you, there has to be some Venn diagram sort of like overlap, and that's what you want to focus on. So we learned this, and so like because it was just linear, it was sort of like in a way fully automated. It was still not as automated as I made it later, which I'll talk about in a second. But that's not understanding. So then I thought like, okay, we're going to do guest mode. Like this is where I didn't even talk to Cami. I'm like, the ad test failed. She just had a little bit like she was dealing with her mom's surgery or something, and I'm like, I went with my minions, and I just did 90-second full asset generation. It's just like full automation, full guest mode. It's like you don't have to do anything. You just put your idea, and I'm going to give you anything. Can you imagine like you put in an idea, and then I'm generating build plan for you without really. So again, based on whatever LLMs would assume, right? So when she's like this is. I mean, there were like some harsh words, but anyway. So then we went sort of hybrid. We are like, okay, we are going to do few things that are automated, and then we're going to create this advisor and workspace where the advisor is going to really chat, like talk through things. And this was kind of like even in our own journey, like we started meeting people, talking to people, and that's where we started learning few things. And so then that became super tight. The chat and the workspace, where it's I think like now we call them agents, and in my code I call these things agents, like pitch agent, research agent, but they were not really agents. Cloud Code was the first coding agent, Open Cloud agent, but I had this vision that I will make these things agent. The first opportunity when it came with the advisor and workspace. And I tried basic simple things like, have them search when it makes sense. Have it do the tool calling when it makes sense. And each LLM behaved very differently. And it was, I ended up creating more deterministic instructions for the LLM to use, and it would still misfire. So I'm sure like, if I had spent a lot of time, I could have done a better job. And I probably should read more of the agent architecture, but it just didn't really work with the tool calling. When advisor and workspace were super tight. So when I say workspace, it's literally your pitch, your market research, and the idea was like you're just chatting, and every asset would automatically and beautifully get updated, because again, it was more this intelligence theater. I wanted user to feel like they're working with a very intelligent product, even though the LLMs were really not there, and frankly they're still not there. Like you have to really do a lot of harnessing. They are great, but that harness, and if you just miss a little bit from 5.5 to you go to 5.6, you don't know what's going to really work and what's going to break. So then the next version was just decoupling. So this is where we got good feedback. I think that version, and everybody's like, we talked to a few people, and they're like, I don't really care about business plan. Like, why do you have that in there? And then the build plan, launch plan, that didn't really make sense for a lot of people. So the things that everybody enjoyed working with or really found value in was market research and pitch. But the other thing that I really want to call out before we talk about like the current product, because when I changed all these things, I didn't want to let go of anything. Because I was so in love with that. You saw that video. I'm just like, I just love that video. And that code, I kept it. And Cami also, like in there, she participated in my madness. She's like, oh yeah, I could actually go sell to university professors, and they could use that linear product like to teach students. I'm like, I could totally do that. We should really keep it. So I kept the legacy product code, and then all the pieces of it, like I don't know how many different ways I would talk to, like I had the memory MD file and I had instructions. So Claude and Codex, like we all were quite unhappy because every time there was a new feature that I wanted to change, build or update anything, it was just a sprawl. So we fought a lot. This is my karma. My teams would always talk about tech debt. They needed time to resolve tech debt. I complained to them about tech debt when customers complained. I heard them that yes, there is tech debt. I told them I would buy them time to tackle tech debt. And then the board would say something, the CEO would say something, the customers would say something, the sales would request something, and then I would be like, no, let's do the new feature. So every single thing that I talked to my team about, gave critical feedback on, it's just like everything, whether it was the UX design, whether it was the product requirements, whether it was not really thinking through customer discovery, whether it was using too many things, whether not really having your test cases first. I've lived it, so I hope now it's kind of balanced and somehow the universe will forgive me. So this is another thing, like if you are doing a side project, if you are building something new, I think it is very important to let go of the code. Whether it's in a job or whether it is like you're building on your own, it's very important to make sure that you're able to really cut your ties with some of these things that may seem really good. So for us, I think that was sort of like on the technical side, but where we saw the momentum, talking to people. And this is, if you take one thing away from it, talk to people. It doesn't matter how you talk to people. It doesn't matter whether you stutter. It doesn't matter whether your idea is clear or not. Talk to people. Tell your story. Whether you're in a job, and because you would change. Like nobody takes a job and keeps them for like 10, 5, whatever years now, 2 years. Like you will have to do the interview. Even if it is just that you're like, I'm comfortable with my job. Even for that, talk. Tell your story, figure out how you're going to converse. And then of course, if you are going to be doing the side projects or entrepreneurs, like just talk to people, tell your story. That has really, that was our biggest thing. Customer conversations aren't before product. They are the product work. And for us, they are the air, the business breathes. This is just like, please just talk to people. So based on all our conversations, based on all the sort of like the tech debt world that I said, we finally, this is today, deleted the code that didn't really make sense. We let the old version go. We had some paying customers that was painful to let go of that, but we decided that on the old product it didn't make sense. So now what FiBuddy is it's a persistent AI advisor. So there is a scratchpad that keeps context. And then we have the blueprint of your business, then we have market research, and then pitch assets, because again, I think it's not going to do VO level or whatever you can do in many of these coding tools level presentations. But what it helps you with is a draft of the story of how you would pitch, and that's the value. You can actually, I've used 11 Labs for the audio conversion too. So if you just want to hear your voice, how would you pitch it? That I think is super helpful from what we have heard from our users. So we have kept that. So the way I don't think that you guys can see it, but let me actually.
You said you used 11 Lab for the voice,
Yeah, in the pitch.
On the pitch, okay.
Yeah. So this is, you can actually, let's say that if you have a side project or an idea, whatever, you can upload a document, you can just start talking to it. And then it will, start giving you sort of like some answers. And this is just the guest mode, but when you are in a signed up state, you would actually get this, where we actually kind of like give you the context. It's just a scratch pad. Like if you have a 6-month goal, and what are the next moves you should do. So the whole idea really is the product is not just trying to be a yes man chatbot, but it is actually trying to check your assumptions, check your risks, because that's what we live. So we're trying to put that in the product. We work with individual clients now, and what we are doing is like how we are working with them is like how can we digitize that in the product. So that's where we are. And then the blueprint is again like the whole thing that. Actually, let me open this one. So this will have your problem. This is the whole canvas. I think many of you know business canvas. So this is just basically how you should think about your solution, target market, and everything. Once you have that, and then the market research, which does the competitor analysis, risks, and other things like that. And then this is what I was talking about. So you have the pitch. It's like, there's different modules you can do. There's a script. This is the pitch script, and this is the audio. So it can be normal audio, which I just use Google Audio, LLM for, or you can do 11 Labs to generate your own voice. And then it kind of creates the normal video, just the pitch. And then the mindset coach, because we all struggle with that, so I've added that piece there. We've kept it from early stage. We all struggle with doubt. We all struggle with, whatever we're dealing with as we're building. And then the ops coach, it could be registration, LLC. So those two pieces, even though you could ask in the same chat, but we have kept it. So that's kind of like is the current product and the journey so far. So this is what I was talking about. Our whole thing is corporate to AI entrepreneur, because we had to narrow the target audience. It actually does work for every early entrepreneur, but we know that persona the best. So people are coming from very structured approaches. People are coming from environments where they're very supported. Like, you don't even realize in a company how well you are supported. Somebody does marketing for you, sales for you, there is IT, there is just so much support that you don't realize, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do something on my own, and little things take away from your time, and it can create a lot of havoc. So we feel like we understand that persona, so that's how we are building this product. It is for people who are leaving corporate jobs to become entrepreneurs, have left, are leaving, and they want to do something on their own, and hopefully they'll use AI for that. So for us, this is the flywheel that's starting to work now. We are talking to people. We have our clients that are from advisory service board, and that's what we are now putting in the product as we learn. So have we found freedom? From drudgery, in a way, yes. I mean, I think like there are pieces of your entrepreneurial life that it's extremely painful. But I wouldn't call it drudgery. It's still like, it's my pain, it's our pain, it's like, it's our own thing, like it's our own baby, and freedom to build something ourselves. I feel like for the first time, it's like, whatever my doubts were for 20 years, like, oh, well, I'm leading engineers, but I'm not like really doing my, technical work. For us, it's like, it's given us the wings, freedom to pursue all our ideas. We want to build something in robotics. We want to start doing 3D printing and other things like that. We can't do that yet, so that's not happened yet. And then financial freedom and security, that's the hard part, and that's a real thing. Everybody should, we went all in, both of us, we're just going to do this. But what might work is like do something on the side and see like how the income grows, or if one partner is working, one partner is pursuing some of the idea. I think that might be a little bit sensible approach. We just didn't do that. We just go all in. So yeah, AI has made the freedom possible for us to try, to build, and to pivot. Like, I don't know how many times we've pivoted, and to really evolve with it. I feel like just playing with all these tools that are coming up. I mean, Cami uses Obsidian for our whole financial system and everything, but also like our different clients. Like, she has this knowledge graph with Obsidian, and that really helps. So any product that's out there, when we are able to leverage it, we don't need to hire a lot of people. So I think that really works for us. So yeah, that's kind of like our journey, and this is a product if you would like to try it. And then if you are building something and you would like to talk to us, we are happy to. You guys have any questions?
I think we have some time for a couple of questions. I'll go ahead and if you could just repeat the questions for the stream, so that way the audio picks up there. I'll give that back over to you.
Okay.
So how many clients can you run, or because you said like it's hard to shotgun blast a bunch of clients, and it would be better to kind of start with a few or something like that. You said something to that effect.
So the question is how many clients, but let me clarify.
Can you kind of manage, or
So
at the same time, or
yes, so I think
people that go into
No.
different types of people?
So no, from an advisory perspective, I think for us, like at a given time, we just try to keep 5 to 6, because you can't really manage. Because if we are going to do a lot of the stuff with them, because we are more like fractional CTO, fractional GTM. She does a lot of customer discovery marketing stuff, going out to meetups, different meetups for their customers. So she does that, and I kind of like handle. Our customers right now are a little bit less technical, I would say. Or they are technical, but they're not really building software. So that's where I'm able to sort of like help. And then again, having been led products and having advised my own CEOs, like I've been involved with expertise on advisory for a long time. I feel like I may not take my own advice, but I'm really good at it. Like that's one thing I'm, somehow, my mom used to say that you came out of the womb lecturing. So yeah.
True. It is true.
But yeah, like you don't want to do more than 5 or 6 if you're going to really do a good. And then we also want to take the learnings from that and put it in the product.
And do you live inside the business a little bit? Like, how does that work? I'm just curious. Like do you kind of shadow them at their? Yes.
So absolutely, I think that that's why it takes time. Like we are all over San Diego County. We will meet with them wherever they are, but like going with them to their customers. So I think one of the things that she's going to do next week, I think, is with meeting parents, because one of our clients is building something for the parents. So even though we are not parents, but that's what we would do. We would actually shadow them.
Right. So on the go-to-market perspective, she's more of the technical, and I'm more go-to-market sales and getting people in front of people. So a lot of people are very uncomfortable talking to strangers and cold calling, attending events, and so I'm happy to find the events and attend with them and kind of be the one that's guiding them through that crowd that they're not so comfortable with until they get comfortable, and then they're able to do a little bit more independent events on their own. But I handhold for a while, and then they get comfortable, and it goes from there. And then what we learn from each customer on the advisory side, we put into the product, so the product can then scale. So then the product is doing more of the heavy lifting for the advisory side, and then that's our plan to scale.
I'm sorry, guys. How do you monetize?
So our advisory service is paid service, and I think like for like the couple of early ones, we did it a little bit differently, where we were like, okay, let you just see us and how it works, and then there are like some that are thinking about doing investments and equity sharing and other things like that. But I think like one of the things that we have realized, and we would coach everybody, is that it's better to have like a relationship on that transaction early on. Like you need to understand that, otherwise you have to be direct, but yes, it's a paid advisory service, and then of course our product has paid premium.
Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, actually on that pricing question, I'm curious, is it just custom pricing per customer, or do you have some sort of kind of like clear pricing model?
Yeah, on the advisory side, it's per customer. So, because we're servicing each client very differently. Some clients don't need that much hand-holding, but some really want the high-touch service, so it's very, very unique.
And each person is unique. I think like if this is where like this was a very conscious decision. That's why we only keep like 5 to 6 at a time, because if you look at all the advisors and coaches, and I've seen that in my entire career, where they'll be like, oh, this is my framework. You do this, you do this, you do this. And it's just like, no, each human being is so unique. And unless you really understand them, unless you really understand why they are doing it. One of the clients that we're working with, it's just like he had actually pitched in front of like a lot of people, and people were like, yeah, that's good. And he was very positive. And we had to really understand like why. It took us a while, after like 2 coffees, to understand that it was something in his own personal life that he was actually taking on and trying, and we're like, that, how did you not talk about that? So once you learn that, it's just like, then the entire strategy changes. So I think it's very unique, very custom.
Right, and just to follow up on that, it's like, we go so deeply in with the personality of the person and where they're thriving and where they have friction points, and we really work on the friction points, because that, our whole goal is like, we pretty much want to guarantee our customers that they're going to be successful in entrepreneurship, and that's a big guarantee, because if you've seen the odds, it's 50-50 at best, and then the worst cases are basically 10% are successful, so that's a big guarantee for us to promise, but we will find ways that nobody else has really explored to make that happen, and that's really knowing the customer.
It's a lived experience. We are living, because we have failed ourselves at things, and then we had to figure out how this is like, okay, how do we, bring that together? But yeah. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, could you give an example of how you helped a customer turn it into a revenue generating operation?
Yes. So one of the, it's more on the accounting side. So they have built a software on the accounting side, and again, however they are approaching it, like they've built an AI product. So one of the things that many advisors actually do is, they tap into their network. So that's where I kind of had my CFOs, my VP of finances, others. So I was able to sort of like make some of these connections, which gave them more idea on how to really do the design partners. And that's where I think they're thinking about probably maybe 20,000 or something that they said last time, that they'll be able to get that in their revenue. So it's just like, how do you, it's more about, their customers. So you really have to understand what their customers are and really help them get in front of them, and then get that whole thing about like, will they pay? And then many people are really hesitant to talk about, even though they're working in the partnerships, they're hesitant to ask to convert that, whatever that partnership is, into money. So I think coaching them on that really goes a long way.
Maybe one more, real quick?
Yeah, probably one more question. Make it quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, hot take. True freedom is homelessness. What do you think?
Well, I think Janis Joplin would agree. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose.
There you go.
But that's Janis Joplin. That might be the hippie. That might be true. I won't sing the song this time, but I do love karaoke, so maybe I'll sing next time.
We should have a karaoke night.
Thank you.
Feel free to ask any other questions
Yeah.
to Cami
We'll be
and
here.
Sonia. I'd like to take 1 minute here to kind of put a bookend on the first speaker before we move into the next, because I do have a hard stop around. Well, it was 2, but I pushed it to 2:30, friend's birthday and whatnot. But I want to take this moment just as the space to ask a couple of questions regarding entrepreneurship and development, right? As a developer, how many are here software engineers, developers, would they consider themselves as a developer? Oh, wow. Lots of hands, which is good. We're doing the right thing here. How many would you consider yourself as a entrepreneur versus kind of like seeking job, kind of, you could say corporate? We got one hand over here. Entrepreneur, raise your hand. Okay, good amount. All right, and then for like the seeking job, kind of wanting to get some stability, the corporate, raise your hand. Far fewer. So we have more entrepreneurs. That's very interesting. I feel like, yeah, great crowd. I just wanted to say, it feels to me, in my observation, I might be wrong over time, it feels to me like the idea of a developer and entrepreneur are slowly melding together. More and more developers are less concerned of like the technical side and becoming more concerned of the product side. What can they do more, right? And breaking away from like, I just go get a job, sit in a nice seat and feel happy, right? Now it's a lot more chaotic world and they're dealing with that. But they have this tool with AI and whatnot to really kind of alleviate a lot of that time that they spent doing development, moving on to entrepreneurship. So I find that very interesting. I just want to put that perspective out there because I'm kind of curious, how many of you would be more interested in I want to kind of do what you're teaching here, which is ask the customer. And for you all being part of our community and our group, I want to ask you all, how many would be interested in setting up a bit of a format change to bring you all up to talk about your ideas and put them out there, record them. If they don't have to be built, they could be kind of vibe coded. It doesn't matter. Raise your hand if that is something interesting. As an entrepreneur, want to put your ideas out there, really kind of test them with the group. Yeah, that sounds cool. We can probably start to do more of those talks and formats. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Just want to get that idea, a little consensus. I do have to go. And on the other note, for those of you that did raise your hand that are looking for a job,
My company that I'm working for right now, Cadre AI, is looking for some engineers. So if you're interested, come talk to me. We're definitely hiring some engineers, also people that are not as technical, but also focus on the client-facing work. Somebody who can talk to people and turn those into solutions. So we're doing a lot of cool things over at AI. It's a startup. We're based over here in Sorrento Valley. If I'm not here, because I jump, you can always chat with me on the Discord and whatnot. So anyway, thanks. Without further ado, next, I'd like to welcome Tristan to the stage to do the next talk about Claude and design. Take it away.
Test.
Got you.
We're good? Oh, cool. There we go. All right. That was a great talk. Thank you guys so much. Let's give them another round of applause, please. All right. Cool. So this is the name of my talk, Designing with Claude Code. I don't like the name because, to be honest, like, it's actually just more about thinking outside of the box with using Claude. It's like not even about Claude Code. Some of the stuff we're gonna do is actually you can just do in regular Claude. And it's not necessarily about design, it's kind of about like making animations, making visuals, doing things that I feel like usually people would assign to like other models. Claude is kind of thought of as like more of a text model because essentially that's all it can really do. So a little bit about myself. I'm Tristan. I've been a software engineer for 10 years or so now. I'm one of the organizers here at DEVx, and in my free time I do a lot of like AI/web consulting with people. So one of the biggest drawbacks to Claude is that it can't actually create images. So some models out there like Nano Banana can create images, GBT can create images, and they've gotten so much better since, I don't know if you guys ever remember like DALL-E 3, when that first came out, like it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And now you can do that with those models and you're able to generate like pictures of people and sometimes even videos with like VO3, which is sick. But let's say that like what started this talk for me was I was doing a web design, a redesign for one of the companies that the main company that I work for. And it was kind of a static site. There wasn't much happening. There was images, but there wasn't really a lot of like character to it. And with AI now, I mean, I feel like one of the biggest positives to AI is that you can take your current skill set and maybe things you could do outside of that skill set, but maybe you didn't have the time to do. Like maybe you know how to do it. Like for example, like creating new images of like the product. Like you can go in and manually screenshot, parts of the product, but that takes time. Is that really worth your time as an engineer? Well, now with AI, you can just say, hey, here's 3 agents. Each one go to a specific part of the product and take images, or even like record a video of a flow using, I think Cypress, like with Puppeteer or something. And these are things that, they're very complicated if you're not like a, very experienced engineer. But now with Claude, if you just kind of point it in the direction, you can get it to do a lot of things. And so to me, it's kind of interesting as someone who I describe myself as a designer, like it's less thinking about like what other tools can I use and more like what can I just tell Claude to go try and do and see what it does. And that's kind of one of the interesting things about relying more on designing with something like Claude, where it seems like it may be more limited, where it can't generate images or it can't generate like literal MP4 videos. But the thing is that animations and images and all that kind of content, it doesn't have to be pixels from the start. You don't have to like be like, oh, I want to generate an image of something and then go to a model that generates literally like 1,000 by 1,000 pixel picture. You can go to something that can generate like SVG code or HTML. Like for example, like I noticed their presentation, you guys had HTML. This one's HTML. I think even the slides, well, they were Canva for the main event, but like this is where things are moving now. We're like, this is like way smoother than something I could make in like Google, like, presentations. And it allows you to do animations as well. Like that essentially just comes free. So yeah, like I said, they're not they can't paint, but they're really great at writing text. And at the end of the day, that's kind of all like design is based on that. One of the other, so this is kind of getting into the details of like whenever I'm designing something with Claude, like a lot of times if you just tell it, hey, go do this, if you don't have a fully concrete idea of what you're trying to build, it might go off in a direction of like that you don't expect, and you're like, oh no, actually go back there. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just ask like, hey, like make 10 different variants of this thing. Like make one that's just like a circle, or make one that's just a triangle, or make a hollow circle. Because then you can kind of be like, oh, I like option 3, I like option 5, I like option 7, but just this one part of it. And you can kind of slowly converge in on something and make something a lot more to your style. And sometimes Claude will even surprise you with the stuff it comes up with. I'm sure sometimes if you've built anything with Claude as an actual engineer, if you've ever asked it like, hey, how would you approach this problem? Give me 3 ways you'd approach it. I think sometimes we get, at least for me, I get surprised, like kind of the stuff it comes up with. It's like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So this is kind of, I use it similar in that way for design as well. And then once again, like motion, like this is just CSS. And I think, especially now with modern CSS, it's super powerful. And even without that, like JavaScript, like you can make animations in the browser with just Claude code. Now what's really interesting and what really got me excited to do this talk is that this is actually an MP4 video that Claude made. And it wasn't even Claude code, it was just Claude. So essentially I told Claude, like, so you can see here, it's an actual video, because those are the video controls. I told Claude, like, hey, like make an animation of, a sun rising, and I mean, that's the whole animation. And it starts with SVG. And Claude is smart enough now that even with Sonnet, it can like be like, oh, okay, I want to turn this into MP4. How would I do that? Okay, Puppeteer. That's just headless Chrome. Oh, okay, let's use FFmpeg to record the open Puppeteer thing, and then boom, here's your MP4 file. And it's like, that shouldn't be popular or possible, but it is now. It's just, Claude has just access to so many tools now where you don't even need Claude code to do stuff like this, which I just find super interesting. So I'm going to give some examples of stuff I've done. So for example, I wanted to start a new kind of side meetup for DevX. So I love Claude code. I'm kind of Claude pilled at this point. And I wanted to do a meetup for just about Claude code, for whether it's like beginners or more advanced people to kind of share ideas. And we have this format for the logo for all the individual meetups. And so I basically just came here to Claude. I was like, hey, in great detail, describe the themes that are used in these designs and how you'd explicitly recreate a new version that follows the same guiding principles. So I'm just trying to basically say, hey, here's this stuff for Claude, and now describe in detail what actually makes these images similar. So that way in the next step, we can generate something that's based on those principles. So it just started outputting. So basically I'm just having Claude kind of prompt itself. And it just starts talking about the accent color, 1 saturated hue per event, the event name. I mean, this stuff is so obvious, but Claude doesn't know until, so this is the first pass that it tried to make, which is not similar to what I wanted. But then I was like, hey, I realized the background that we use is pretty complicated, so I gave it that. So now I'm giving it more context. And I just give it a little bit more pointing. And eventually what it did was it made this, and I'm going to open it full screen here. It made this UI, it's not just an image, but it's also a UI for generating any image for any event. So anytime we want to do like, oh, here's the weekend function, for example. But if you wanted to do your own event, you can just say like, my event. And then you could change the color. And so what's cool is now we've basically taken this process as something that's like, this would probably just be like traditionally, like you'd have the individual assets on Google Drive, and then maybe have this in Canva. And you'd be like, oh, do I have access to the Canva? No, you don't. Oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. Now we can just host this, and anyone could access it. I tried to actually publish it as a Claude artifact, but you can't actually like use the download PNG button. So this will save it as an actual image that I could then inspect, as you can see there. So now it's actually like a tool. So now all of a sudden it's like this idea of like, okay, well, when you're a designer or when you're doing anything, you're always following these processes. And that's the coolest thing about Claude and just AI in general is like, how can you take all of your processes, break them down into, for a lack of a better phrase, like an SOP, like the standards of like what across all these instances of this process, in this case, the icon for individual meetups, what's distinct about those across all of the instances, and then turning that into a repeatable process. And then the one last thing I wanted to show was this is the landing page that I was redesigning for the company I work for called HVACer. We just basically build software for mechanical engineers to design HVAC systems for commercial and residential buildings. So this is just an MP4 video. This is just a recording of the app. But one of the sections I'm super proud of is this section. So these are all MP4 videos that Claude Code made. So what I did for each one was, especially for this one, I wanted to showcase that, hey, we have like a huge emphasis on our AI agent where an engineer can come with their floor plans as like a PDF or like a docx about project details like address and all this stuff, CSV for like any contacts for like ordering parts and stuff. You can just upload them. So I just recorded myself uploading these files really jankily because it's not like I'm not smooth with my mouse. I'm not like great at recording. And then I took the video and I went to Claude and I said, hey, in great detail, describe exactly what is happening in this video. So the same thing I did last time with the image generator. And that way I'm getting all that detail that I can say, hey, Claude, now turn that into an animation. And so it made this into an HTML page that is rendering that on a loop. And then I just opened my screen recorder and just recorded that. And so the cool thing is from there, it's like, now this is an MP4 output, but we still have the HTML. I can go make changes. If the app changes, I can go back to the HTML, re-record the video. In fact, I could actually probably automate that in some way and then put it back out to the site. And this is a similar thing here where this is showcasing one of the abilities, which is we can scan floor plans and have immediate what's called auto takeoff, where you get spaces that pop up, like all your rooms get like pre-created in our database essentially. So you can go from nothing to like a full project takeoff. And so showing this animation is like, it's just a lot more visual than something that's more static. Like if you scroll down here, like nothing's happening here. So this was the thing that for me, I was very surprised what it can do. And I feel like we're all always being surprised. And so I just really wanted to share this because it's such a specific thing. Like it's kind of hard to like explain in detail what's happening across all these things, but I think there's just so many interesting ideas you can do with the models. And I just wanted to share it because I feel like I want people to experiment even more and try new things because they're getting better and better. And I think even to this day, like I'm still surprised. So that's my talk. Thank you. Oh, yes, Tony?
On the previous slide, so you have the animation with the red room build out, and then the chart on the bottom right is essentially when you said the auto takeoff is if you scroll down to the so as you have the scan action and then all the quote unquote red rooms pop up, is that the same as the table on the bottom right?
Oh, so these ones popping here down.
And if you page down to a little bit more to the industry channel, I can't read the text on that, but like is that describing what the rooms are?
Technically with this is, yeah, it's kind of similar. So we have like space types. So this is just, these are like standards for like, okay, what, for different types of rooms, like a lecture classroom and a break room, like what specific values are needed for building a system around it, assuming you have like 10 lecture rooms and 5 break rooms, like, you know, those are gonna have different standards of like number of people in them, which are producing heat and all this stuff. So, but.
So when you scan the PDF of the floor plans, does your system currently say, and now here's a list of what we classify those rooms as?
Yeah, so usually the floor plans will say something like, for example, office space. So you'll have a room that's there and then office space. And if it matches closely to something that's like if it says office spaces and ours says office space, it'll match that to our library essentially. Yeah, from a floor plan, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
How do you feel about cloud design, and do you use that in your workflows when you're doing stuff?
That's such a good question. I don't like the name of the talk because of that, because it's like I've never used cloud design, so.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, maybe next month. Come back for designing with Claude Design. All right.
It's actually gotten better. Like when it was released, you're like, what are you even doing? But from my experience, it has gotten better.
That's cool.
Sick.
Yeah, we'll check it. I'm gonna check it again.
Dope. Yeah, I've been wanting to check it out.
This is one of your other businesses or things that you collaborate on?
Well, this is my main job.
That's
Yeah.
your main job.
Yeah.
Okay. Because then you also have the architecture documentation one. No? Do you
This is all part. Yeah, pretty much part of that. Most of my.
part of that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Am I on? Maybe. Hello. Okay. Thank you, Tristan. Give one more hand to Tristan. And also Cami and Clay. Oh wait, what's one person? Sorry, Cami and Sonia. Awesome. So, Sam had to bounce. But yeah, these are our speakers, and they were awesome. And we just clapped for them twice. I'm not going to make you do it again. And now is the time of DevX where you can, quick 15 seconds, introduce yourself, share an announcement, maybe like why are you here, who are you looking for, do you have a project, you want to share some events or activities. And yeah, keep it short, about 15 seconds. And if you want to come up, just go ahead and line up right here, and we can start. Machine learning, 5 o'clock. Cool. Come on up.
I actually forgot to mention this at the end of my talk. I also am hosting next Wednesday at Harlan Brewing in South Park a meetup for Claude Code for beginners. So if you've never used Claude Code before and you're wanting to get set up with the terminal, it's going to be a really chill workshop, just 2 hours. Just bring your laptop and good time. Oh yeah, sorry. It's on Luma, on the DevX Luma. Yeah.
Awesome. Name and what you're talking about?
Hey guys, I'm Lucas Cooper Bay, and I'm setting up somehow a way to do 3 events a week. I don't know where, I don't know how, I just know that I want to do one night, which will be a building club and architecture and harness design and agents and stuff like that. Another night which will be AI and business, and another night which will be 3D assets, game design, and generative video and stuff like that. I put on my first Share-a-thon, which was an event we did like two months ago. Paul showed up. It was pretty rad. It's something that I'm going to do every month, and it's a way to get everyone together and just kind of share how we're building and what's working for us and stuff. That Share-a-thon is a guarantee. I'm going to do it at a coffee shop or something every month from now on, but those weekly things are something that it's just like I'm forcing into existence. I don't know how, but I'm going to have it happening very soon. So if anyone can help or wants to be a part of that or suggest where I should start looking for places or anything like that, just let me know. I'm Lucas. Thank you.
Sonia, welcome back.
By the way, I think like people who are doing events, human is the premium thing going forward with AI and robotics. So I think like I know like people are like, oh well, so many events. We need more events. Humans need connection. We saw that in COVID, so kudos, and we would love to help you if we can. So another thing we do is we co-host this AI Showcase North County, and it's on EventShip, it's on Luma. It's first Tuesday of every month, and it's founders just talking about what they're building with AI. And recently we've started doing thematic things. So we did distribution, because building with products is really easy. Distribution is hard. Then we did onboarding. How do you really onboard customers, and whether it's sales or just through the product. And then the next month, which is August 3rd, it's going to be retention. Because if you have gotten customers, how do you really retain them? So that'll be the talk, and there are like few presenters already. You could present if you are, if you have something that you would like to share, or attend. It's in North County, but AI Showcase, it's on Eventship and Luma, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else want to come up and talk about themselves or a project they have? Anyone? Okay. Well. We're DevX, and you can join on DevX Network. Sign up, and you get your cool, shiny name tag. Here's Sam. He looks like Steve Jobs. And if you want, you can come give a talk like Sonia, Cami, and Tristan did today. And don't forget, connect with us on Discord, LinkedIn, maybe X, I don't know, and YouTube. And yeah, you can scan that. Hey, awesome. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Thank you to our speakers. Round of